Hi, Varsha.
No. Our semiconductor startups. Hello, Chaitanya.
Varsha.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah, Varsha.
Okay.
Hi Varsha. Hi Chaitanya.
Hi, all. We can just start the session in another 5 minutes. Hi, Kaushik.
Hey.
Somebody is coming? Oh, guys, no problem. I will. And
Hi, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Very good afternoon, everyone.
So should
Why
we
don't we just
start?
wait for another 5 minutes. There are another 2 startups yet to be joined.
Wait. Sure. So Shravan is there?
Yeah,
Yeah, Rahul,
Shravan.
I'm here.
Okay. T-Hub community. Thanks. Thanks, Shravan.
Hi, Varsha. We can start the session, Varsha.
Yeah, Chaitanya. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Varsha.
So, first of all, Dr. Rahul sir, thank you. Thanks for your the time, precious time. And it's my privilege that I should introduce you to my all the startups. It's years first group session. So I wish all of you the happy new year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well.
Yeah, and so the guy is Dr. Rahul Verma is with us, who is the co-founder of Nano Health, which is the health tech company which preventing the avoidable hospitalization and providing integrated technology solutions for healthcare delivery. And by professional, he is a doctor. He completed his MTech in a biomedical engineering from IIT Bombay. And before joining as the co-founder, he held C-level position in MNCs. And also he is an investor. He already invested more than the 20 companies. And he has immense knowledge into the healthcare ecosystem. And he's, mentored so many startups till dead. And we are really happy to have the speaker as a Dr. Rahul Verma here. So, Dr. Rahul Verma, now it's your part. I know that your the thoughts as well as your the guidance and vision definitely help us all startups to the proceed further.
Yeah, no, thanks. For the very kind introduction. When I looked at this picture, I suddenly realized that it's me, right? But this is, yeah, it's from probably not decades old. I won't say that, but yes, it's a great pleasure to be here. Amongst this August cohort of founders. It's not easy. It's not an easy job to be a founder. So, I've been on both sides. I've been actually on all three sides. I've been a client, I've been a investor, and now I'm a founder, right? So I know now really realize the pain and the challenges that are there of being a founder. So let's see how we can best utilize this time that we have this platform where I can of course interact with you. Yes, my objective will be to see whatever best I can share from my knowledge and experience with you. But what I would really appreciate, is to have the session as interactive as possible, right? And really answer any questions, any comments, have a discussion around those. because that is how we collectively can learn from each other. It's not that, I'm, in a different orbit because of whatever, background or experience I have. I think every day is a learning experience for me as well. And, that's how we can collectively learn from each other. But let's have a, more interactive session rather than me taking you through, giving you what digital health means and, future of digital health in India and so forth. I think it will be good to really hear from you what actually are your pain points or any experience you would like to share in this cohort, because we all can learn from each other. That's how I would like to, position this, if that is okay with all of you.
Yeah, doctor.
Great, Partha. Great. So I think let me just start by giving you a slightly more detail about my background and then about Nano Health. What I will also share is the journey of Nano Health, some of the pivots that this company had to make or do in its business and its strategy, in its go-to-market approach. And then from there, I'll lay it open for all of you to, either ask questions or share your own experiences, because then we can all collectively share the wisdom, or, I can try to guide or answer any questions that you may have for me. Does that sound good?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because I really value founders' time, to be honest. I start the day with a list of 10 things that I want to do in the day. At the end of the day, that list has grown to 20. 2 things from the original list have been done, but 12 more have been added, right? So the founder's time is the most precious time. So I would really like to see that we optimize it, and we don't need to go for 90 minutes. Let's see that we extract as much as we can from this time. Okay.
Okay.
Good. So very quickly about myself, you heard my background, but I'll just reiterate some of the key drivers which add to my experience. Right. So medical doctor I became, very simple, because my whole family was doctors, not much choice for me. But I was always more interested in technology. So I went on to do my master's in biomedical engineering, and from IIT Bombay, did research in cancer diagnostics. Have a granted US patent to my name for a dye that I synthesized for detecting breast cancer non-invasively. So that was my first introduction to innovation, ideas, technology in healthcare. At IIT Bombay, where I did research for seeing how non-invasively we can diagnose, and it actually started from a pain point. Right, my father was a heart patient. And, even before I turned 25, he had 3 heart surgeries. And all 3 times I'm talking about, 1993 to 2020, 2000, year 2000, not 2020. So 1993 to 2000, between those 7 years when I was, just growing up, doing my medicine, he had 3 heart surgeries. Every time he had to invasively, get angiography done. And every time it was a very, very painful process. So my desire to get into non-invasive diagnostic was to see that if we can, develop technologies that can non-invasively diagnose certain conditions, right? And that's where I then, zeroed in on breast cancer and, synthesizing a dye which could non-invasively detect breast cancer. So mammography is one, of course, but then, it's does not tell you the type of cancer it is. So the learning here is that, see, if there is a pain point that is very close to you and is big enough, then you should try to pursue that. And that's where, you can really bring in a difference, because you are passionate about something. And if you are passionate about something, then it will drive you day in and day out to solve that problem, right? And then you will achieve something meaningful, right? So that's the importance of this story that I share. Then for almost 14 years, I was into consulting, IP consulting and R&D consulting, working with global companies. I joined a startup called Evaluserve. I was hired from campus, and then working with all these multinational companies around strategies. So just as an example, I worked with Baxter
for their 2015 vision. I worked with them on this in 2004, 2005. So they said that, okay, what are the technologies that will come in 2015? So that gave me a perspective of, where does the future lie? So, from the likes of Baxter, Beckman, Kiagan, Roche, Sony, all these companies, because IP is the future, right? So you have to protect your IP. So because I was working with IP and R&D departments, I was really working with all these organizations to help them define their R&D roadmap for the next 5 years, 10 years, or for pharma companies, even up to, 15 to 20 years. Because in, electronics or FMCGs, the product life cycle or the innovation life cycle is much shorter, but in medicine, the life cycle is long because just the R&D and approval process takes at least 10 to 15 years or more. So that gave me a perspective of a long-term vision that see what the emerging needs would be, 5 years down or 10 years down or even more. Then I joined Clarivate as head of their India operations. Clarivate, just to tell you, is the world's largest provider of scientific information. So, wherever R&D is happening, Clarivate products are being used as, subscription databases. So my team was the team which was actually, collecting all the data, cleansing it, standardizing it, annotating it, summarizing it, and putting it into our databases, into Clarivate's databases, right? So we used to process on an average 6 billion data points. When I say data points, it could be, title, abstract, authors, dates, journals, IP, trademarks, domain names, right? Clinical trials, everything. So 6 billion data points a year. So that gave me an idea of, the extent of data that is out there and the importance of data and the ever-growing data that is in the scientific area. Then I became, CEO of an organization which was a Indian arm of a Japanese organization, M3 Inc. And that is where then the whole idea about, healthcare and, trying to integrate different pieces of healthcare came to my mind. So M3 Inc. Is the world's largest provider of, primary market data in the healthcare area. But in Japan, M3 Inc. has 85%, EHR, electronic health records market share, 85%. You can Google that. So in Japan, they have 85% of hospitals and clinics in Japan use their EHR. And so this company was founded in 2001, around that time. And then from being in EHR space, they started looking at what are the applications that they could actually build because they already have, hospitals onto their platform. So then they started doctor recruitment because every doctor, they knew what the specialty is. The doctors are using EHR. So the first kind of additional service they started providing, or the business they launched, was medical recruitment. Then the second they launched was that, okay, because we have doctors, we have hospitals, then they started this clinical trial as a business because they have the sites, they have the doctors, so they could actually help pharma companies very quickly conduct more effective and shorter turnaround clinical trials. And if you are able to, just as an example, cut down the clinical trial time by 1 year, it could mean billions of dollars because then they are able to launch the drug into the market much sooner. Then what they did was that the market is saturated with all of these. So they were trying to identify that how we can actually go to a B2B2E model or a B2B2C model, which is business to business to employees. There they acquired a company called Happy.ai in Japan, which was providing corporate wellness, right? And that is where then, the idea that, in India also we can do something similar. I had a particular opportunity at a hospital in Hyderabad. The doctor there shared with me some challenges. And then I, contacted Manish Ranjan, who's actually the original founder of Nano Health, and, said, can we develop a solution for this doctor and this hospital? So 3-4 months I worked with him while I was also working at, M360 on weekends. We would spend a day or, 1.5 days over the weekend to develop that solution for the hospital, a technology solution. And then we could develop that solution. The hospital bought that solution. So that is where I said that this is time for me to take that plunge. So this is my journey, right? What NanoHealth does is, NanoHealth was founded in 2015, with the genesis being that there is a HALT competition, which happens, once a year. There is a global problem there's a problem which is shared globally. And then, students, can submit their response to that problem and the ideas. It's in an ideation stage. And then a global jury then analyzes these responses, which could be anywhere from 6,000 to 15,000 responses across the globe. They shortlist, and then finally they select one winner every year. So in 2014, the problem given was that how can you solve the problem of non-communicable diseases? So Manish from ISB, the founder, he submitted a proposal of doc in a box, where using technology, you could actually, do screening and risk stratification of NCDs in slums at the bottom of the pyramid. So he won the HALT prize. He's the only Indian to have won that so far. And that is where the genesis of NanoHealth was laid down, that, using technology, how we can actually, prevent hospitalization through early detection, through risk stratification and proactive management of health, especially for non-communicable diseases. So from 2015 to 2018 and 19, the company was focused on the bottom of the pyramid, surviving on grants. So did work for Bihar government, Telangana government, Andhra Pradesh government, Chhattisgarh government. But then the realization also came that, we can do public health, but, there are two other opportunities. One was that the doctors who were involved in public health, when they saw the whole system end to end, kind of a, you can say a EMR or an EHR, right? They said that, yeah, this is something that they can also use in their clinics, because in the end, it was capturing digitally the patient journey, the patient coming to a public health screening camp, registering them, digitizing everything, trying to do, their tests in a digital manner, capturing that data, doing risk stratification and everything, so pharma, diagnostics, registration, everything happening on the same platform. And this is where then doctors, said that we would like this in our clinic as well. So that is where some, doctors started coming on board our platform. And then also, if we are doing it at the bottom of the pyramid, it's only grants that you will get. But then, Manish thought that if we are able to do this for public health, we can do similar things for corporate health as well. And in 2019, at that time, though corporate health and wellness was, unheard of, that is where the pivot happened to, engage with corporates, engage with the employees of the corporate and create a health dashboard for corporates with an objective to prevent hospitalization of employees and their families. And the value proposition was that through prevention of hospitalization, we are able to reduce insurance claims. So that is the second pivot that happened. And now that is what we have been developing on, trying to further strengthen our product for hospitals and clinics. And then similarly on the corporate side, trying to do a proactive approach to corporate wellness. Now the GTM, of course, changed from public health to hospitals to corporates, and it has not been easy. It's been kind of evolving. We have faced our own set of challenges, failures, roadblocks, but always what has kind of helped us come out of those challenges or overcome those roadblocks has been, a very clear understanding of the go-to-market strategy. That, as an example, we went to, I'll take some names, please. I hope it is okay. We went to Yashoda and we asked them, what is your technology strategy? And the answer was silence in the room, right? We talked to Apollo and they said, no, we are engaging TCS, though we know we have 26 different systems, right? So then we realized that, see, probably these are not our target customers to start with, right? We are not at that scale. We are a startup, right? So let us see how we can identify the real target group of hospitals and a right set of doctors who would be, ready to adopt our system. So that is where we started reaching, single doctor hospitals who wanted to expand, a chain of clinics who don't want to take 10 years to scale up and who realize that technology is the only solution which can cut down their scale up time from probably 10 years to 5 years or even less. So that's how we could identify and mature our GTM for our, HMIS system for hospitals. For corporates, again, it took us time to come up with a tagline of, preventing hospitalization, because you go to hospital, to corporates and say that, okay, I do this. They give you a, list of 10 other companies from, Healthians to Amfines to everyone, right, who are doing similar things. So you have to see how you are able to differentiate, identify the right set of corporates, and, from there, sharpen your pitch and your GTM, and then take things forward. So that tagline of preventing hospitalization resonates. And then the next question immediately comes, how, right? So that's at least, you have gone to the next level of, no, I know this, what you do, corporate wellness. Yes, I have, 20 other companies to do it. So when you say, no, I prevent hospitalization, then that's where, okay, how? So at least the conversation moves, and, from a 1 into conversion from 20, you get into a 1 into conversion from 5 to 10 clients you meet. So that's how the journey has been. So I'll pause. Kaushik, you have your hand raised. So now let's get into, so that's my 10 to 12 minutes of, introduction and overview of where we are. So let's open up the floor. Happy to answer questions, share thoughts, and, collectively learn.
Thank you for explaining your journey, and we are in the same kind of boat, right? Like identifying the customer who is trying to solve this problem is the difficult part, because they really don't want to speak about their problems. And I just wanted to understand a little about what's the rationale behind preventing hospitalization when you're reaching, or you're pitching that to hospitals, because they want patients, right? If you're pitching it to corporates, probably I missed a step in between your explanation. Probably, are you pitching it to corporates, and then you can reduce your insurance because corporates are paying for the insurance? Is that the go-to-market pitch for them, or?
Kaushik, can you introduce yourself? I'll answer that question.
Oh yeah, so sorry. I'm with ITROS Health. We are a AI-based platform where we want to focus on, as you were correctly pointing out, rather than curative care, focus on like preventive care. And how we are able to do that is combine all these different siloed organization within a hospital, or capture all the data, so that the hospital can see a holistic patient view, which can be like a 1D or a 3D kind of a model of the patient. So where we really differentiate is having a multi-data model. So our radiology not only looks at the image data, but also looks at clinical data. Like if you don't have both of them, you're just providing a differential diagnosis, which is like looking at an image with just one eye, right? And that's what we are trying to bridge. That was like my 1 minute pitch for ITROS. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can completely relate, Kaushik. Sorry if I quote here, right? Below every radiology report, it is written, please correlate clinically, right?
Yeah. So,
right,
and
so
you rightly point, there are like 100 or 50 odd radiology startups. And I'm like, why isn't anyone doing this? And people are getting funded left, right, and center in this field. So I'm like, okay, this seems like a no-brainer for me and my co-founder, who's a radiologist. So yeah.
Great.
But we expanded beyond just radiology, but clinically, how we have like a holistic view on connecting all these different organizations with our AI voice. And EHR is so outdated. It needs to be more like a ambient conversationalist kind of a thing, where a doctor, if you're the doctor and I'm the patient, it should automatically capture everything, point us to the different organizations. So that is another product in our solution pipeline that we have.
Great.
Yeah. But so I'll just go back to my question. Like,
I can answer that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool.
Means, did you complete, or that there is another part of the question?
I think I completed the question. Yeah.
So let me paraphrase, Kaushik. So your question is that, see, why would hospitals listen to you when you are saying with your pitch of preventing hospitalization? Because that means their revenue will go down, right? That's the
Right.
gist of your question. Good.
Yeah.
So, Kaushik, I'll give you a very general pitch of the, of how the
Yeah.
doctors perceive and hospitals perceive, and then I'll come specifically to what our positioning is, right? And that has evolved. That it did not happen overnight.
Okay.
So the first of all, every doctor, every hospital actually looks at technology as a cost center.
Right.
Their only concern is that, see, I'll only listen to you if you actually bring me patients. If it helps me in increasing,
Correct.
my footfall, then I have my ears for you. Otherwise, until unless, you put a gun on my head, I don't want to listen to you, and I don't want to change the things the way I'm doing it. Very simple.
Correct.
Right. So that's what doctors generally and hospitals, they perceive. But there is a segment of, doctors and specialties, which also look at that, see, how can I increase my funnel?
Mm-hmm.
That, in the end, I need to have a footfall in my hospital. But then that footfall can only happen if I'm able to, do some screening. If you know the medical system, and if your, co-founder is a radiologist and a doctor, he would know that, many hospitals, they organize free camps.
Right.
Right. What is their objective? Their objective is to screen,
Yeah.
and from screening, see that how they can, feed into the funnel of patients to actually increase their footfall in the hospitals. Right. So when we go with the pitch of preventing hospitalization, it is essentially that, see, I want to go out there. No one is focusing on preventive health. If I go out there and screen patients for diabetes, as an example, I screen patients for back pain, then, I'll screen 100. Out of those, 10 may have some risk of diabetes or have some, initial stages of, degenerative back spine or, vertebral herniation or whatever it is, disc herniation, right? But out of those 10, again, there may be 2 or 3 who actually do not know the disease and would need your consultation or would need some intervention. So it could be 1%, it could be 2%, it could be 5%, but, earlier it was 0% for you. But if you actually take this approach of screening, then at least anywhere between 1 to 10% may actually end up as your paying patients.
Right.
Right. So, and all specialties are not amenable to it. So you have to identify which specialties actually want to go out for screening, especially for NCDs, right? Especially for these, like back spine. I'll just give you an example that we are supporting a spine hospital here. We are their technology partners, and they want to launch a campaign called Healthy Spine, and we are their technology partners. Healthy Spine is going to be a separate company which is focusing on preventive health or preventive back health, right? Because their end objective is that we want to promote this, we want to educate. Because we educate, we will screen from there. Earlier, if I did not have any, one getting into my funnel, which ends up in my secondary or tertiary care, I will at least anywhere between 1% to 5% or whatever that may be into, increasing my footfall. So that's how the whole ecosystem comes in. Second is because I operate for corporates for preventive health, right? Then I do the risk stratification. And then I have, on the other hand, my, list of specialists and hospitals. Then I'm able to do B2B to H kind of a model where any one coming from the corporate health checkups, needs any endocrine consultation, any, eye consultation, any women health consultation, or any spine or back, because these are the most common, issues in a corporate. Then I have my feed of, hospitals and specialists whom I can engage. And that's the differentiator they also see through my combined system. Of course, it's at, I would be very honest in saying that right now, this is happening at probably 1% if I want it to be at 100%. But as the ecosystem grows, as this, whole, pieces start coming together, that is where then this whole value and this workflow that we envision of this whole, ecosystem coming together, we will be able to drive value and create value for each stakeholder in this whole ecosystem, from patient to the corporate, to the hospital, to the doctor.
Perfect. Thank you.
So long
Yeah.
answer, but I hope it answers.
No, it totally answers the question. Thank you.
Okay. So Kaushik, how did you and your co-founder, you said that still you are maturing your GTM, but can you share your journey of defining the GTM, and that these two, of course, it's obvious, right? That you
Yeah.
need to have the clinical correlation along with the radiology findings to be able to finally suggest a diagnosis, right? Or interpretation. So how did that happen, and how are you approaching your customers?
So I mean, there were two things which were concerning with our initial process, where not only the clinical data was missing, but the homogeneity of like the radiology reports would determine how the AI model would behave. And the only way to build a AI model would be to capture heterogeneous data from like say US and India and try to run models based on that to identify various abnormalities in different body organs. So we have multiple data models for lung, brain, and other liver and kidney. And I think that's what we did in terms of collaborating with two hospitals here in US and two in India, which kind of helped us build our models, which gave us enough confidence in terms of whether people will want to do it. This probably will lead you to something that you shared. You found a doctor whose problem you wanted to solve, and that's how you joined Nano Health, right?
Right.
And sometimes it kind of fits 50% of use cases, but it's not really on the top priority, right?
Yeah.
Or the 5 problems that they want to solve that year. And I think that's the problem we are facing as of now. How do we identify a certain customer who has this problem? Because like my family is exactly like yours, who has doctors. My parents are doctors, my uncles are doctors, and with all the connections in the world, still it's hard to find, as you were dropping names about Yashoda, Apollo, it's the same thing. They don't have the need as such in terms of getting all that information. So identifying that customer is what is the key main point, and T-Hub being really helpful in terms of making those connections was the rationale behind us being part of the cohort as well. So yeah.
No, you are absolutely right, Kaushik. So how long have you been into the market?
I would say 8 months now. Yeah.
Great. I think that the key, Kaushik, here is to, when you go to these big hospitals, right, there are so many different stakeholders.
Yeah.
Admin has a different objective. They damn care about the patient.
Yeah.
Right. In the end, their objective is that, see, what is my top line?
Yeah.
Doctors damn care about the billing, because their bottom line is that, okay, no, I'm getting my fixed salary. I just need to see that my patient, I'm able to satisfy. Patients, their mood varies. So if everything is well, they're very happy. If something in the end, if the bill is high or something did not work out in terms of their own desired output they thought they wanted, then hell breaks loose. So you
Right.
have to really identify that within those big organizations, big hospitals, where actually money would lie, as an example, right? So you go to a smaller hospital, you have to struggle in terms of the quantum, especially in India, of revenue you can generate from them, right? And in bigger hospitals, yes, there is some maturity and acceptance towards technology cost, but still these different stakeholders have different drivers. They have like I said, the admin damn cares about the patient, or the doctor doesn't care about the admin. The patient varies. So you need to see that which is your target segment, be clear about that, and see that how you onboard them and get your solution across to them.
Yeah.
So
That's how we kind of found our pilot. But probably you're also facing that difficulty in scaling from this one customer to like say 50 other customers, I'm assuming.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think what you should do probably, be patient, hang in there. The maturity of digital health and technology in India especially is a bit slow, but it's going to accelerate. So I don't know how many of you in this group know DHIS or I'm sure you would know the ABDM, right? So the government launched DHIS, Digital Health Incentive Scheme. They went live on 1st Jan, but if you go and talk to any doctor, they don't know anything about it. Right. So that's how the government functions. But at least it's a step in the right direction that, it's what happened in US around 15, 20 years back, that the government started incentivizing digitization. Right. And then the second phase was then the anti-VAT, that they made it mandatory. Right. So I think that's how here it's going to happen, that yes, for the first 6 months, at least this year, the government has said that we'll pay 50 crores, right, to incentivize people to adopt digital technologies and also incentivize digital technology platform providers. So I think that should start the conversion a bit towards adopting digital platforms, digital technology. And then once the stick comes in, then of course, the floodgates should open.
Right. That's the hope, because that's what happened in like 2008 when Obama started this whole healthcare initiative, right? So the adoption was at 30%. Now it's at like 90%. So
exactly. Good. Yes, more questions.
Yeah, so we are looking for the more questions.
Hello.
Yeah, Rishikesh.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I have a unique question. Like when we started 5 years back, we thought of solving the health issues, mostly lifestyle disease. We started with our fitness center, then we started working with athletes. We worked with the Gopichand Academy to train their Olympic athletes. With Government of Maharashtra also, we trained athletes. So we realized that the solution to most of the problems, health, lifestyle disease, is primarily more of functional movement and nutrition. And that's where we started. And then we realized that there are a lot of things, and it's a vast ocean when we talk about healthcare and even preventive healthcare. So I saw your website and I saw like you have a lot of things there. And I was trying to understand as in how do you generally focus, because that is where we are struggling. We want to solve every other problem which is there, and then we are losing the sharp communication that, okay, fine, this is what we should be doing for a couple of years. So I just wanted to check with you as in how do you manage that kind of scale, as in terms of the number of issues that you are solving.
I can call you Rishi or Rishikesh is the
Rishi.
Rishi.
Like most of the, yeah.
Rishi, where are you based? Hyderabad.
Hyderabad, T-Hub, yeah.
Let's come and meet here. Ajo.
Yeah. ठीक है, done.
मैं जितने भी investors के पास गया हूँ, Hindi is okay, guys?
Yeah, it is good.
सभी investors मुझे कहते हैं you are doing too many things. Right, so completely relate to you that how do you define that focus and simplify your pitch, right? It's not easy. It's not easy, Rishi, because if you look at what we are trying to build here. I'll just share our experience, then I'll come to your perspective. What we have done, the backbone is that we have digitized every node of patient connect in the health journey or the treatment journey, right? Whether inside the hospital or outside the hospital. Outside the hospital, if they are there, then it is essentially in either public health camps or corporate health checkups and corporate wellness. If they're inside the hospital, then it's HMIS, right? Now, if I say in exactly these words, then people say, it looks okay. But if I get into corporate wellness, preventing hospitalization, 360-degree data capture inside a hospital, then say you are doing too many things. So it has not come easy to us. And still, as early as 3 weeks back, means we want to go into the market to raise funds. So I reached out to one of my old friends, and his question was, I think, Rahul, you are doing too many things again. So then, what we are trying to do is really again sharpen our pitch and see that how we can simplify, because, I'll take one example. On I think 27th or 28th of December, we met a student delegation of executive MBAs from UCLA at ISB. So these 40 plus executive MBA students who have paid a bomb to do that MBA, or their organization has paid a bomb, and of course are one of the brightest, you can say, because UCLA, of course, has a cut. So we presented to them because we are out of ISB. So ISB invited us and then said, why don't you present your company? So we were presenting, my founder and co-founder and myself. Out of 41 people in that room, 6 people were sleeping. So what I mean, sorry, it may sound very harsh, right? What it meant was that, see, what I am pitching to an investor is no different than these, 10, 15 years of experience professionals from industry. They're no different. Right? If I'm not able to capture their attention, same as with investors. So we actually had a very, hard talk between the founder and myself, that, we really need to sharpen our pitch, because we have to look at our pitch from an investor perspective. We cannot look at our pitch from our perspective. That, no, this is what we are doing. So, you don't buy our story, be it. Right. So my learning from the last 6 months or so since I have come here is, we do need to simplify. We do need to think from an investor perspective. Identify one which you think will stick with that investor, which is linked to a sizable problem and sizable revenue. That is it. Other things, investors don't give two hoots about it. I have been an investor myself. I've invested in 25 plus companies. Right. So I know that, my attention span in a pitch is this much.
True. So we had a similar problem till few weeks back. I would say that whoever I talk to, I try to tell them that this is the solution is the same for most of the problems. And so we are trying to tell them that the solution is the same, but they feel that we are doing too many things. And when I saw your website, I could completely relate to it. I was thinking, "Arey, ye to same wahi ho raha hai." So how are you able to manage it? और मेरे से कोई बात ही नहीं कर रहा.
नहीं. तो हमने ना एक slide बनाई है. That's why I said, Rishi, come, let's meet. Right? तो
I want to meet you.
Work in progress है slide की यार. यही slide दिखाएंगे investor को. ये समझ आ गया तो उसको लगेगा हाँ नहीं ये simple है. They're not trying to do too many things. All other things are derivative of this. But this is where the pot of gold is.
Yes, true.
Because in the end, the investor wants the return on their money. कि भैया इनको पता है where is their pot of gold, and मुझे भी लगता है कि इनमें invest करूंगा तो I'll able to create wealth. ठीक है, तो उसको बहुत simplify करना है कि ये देखो, this is the use case of whatever I'm trying to do. Very simple, A and B, that is it. If I go and C, D, E, F, Z, you may have in your pocket, but there is no point in confusing them, because it is, they give two hoots about it. They just need to know where your revenue is going to come, big chunk, everything else is ancillary, right?
Okay.
Just focus on that. Your 50% or 60% of revenue is going to come from this particular aspect, whether that's a product or a service. Very clear. Focus on that, sharpening your pitch around it. That's it.
Great.
No investor wants to hear, your 12 chapter storybook. They don't want to read it. They want to read just one introduction where you are able to say that, okay, this is what it is. As simple as that. उनको लगा कि नहीं ये 300 पेजेस की किताब पढ़नी पड़ेगी, वो किताब ही नहीं खरीदेंगे.
Yes.
तो ये that's my journey.
Done.
So very candid.
Yes. I'll come and meet you whenever you're.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, guys. More stories.
More questions. We are looking for the
questions.
more questions.
No, I'm not looking for questions. I mean, let's
It's like
share
interactions. Yeah, they should interact with you.
Yeah.
Hello, doctor. I am Dr. Vimala. I am a homeopathy doctor. Can you hear me? Hi. Actually, I am into expanding my clinics to certain rural areas where the people are not reachable to complete cure.
Yeah.
So I want to know more about digital healthcare information. How can I make use of digitalization by not going over there? We can be here in Hyderabad and treat people over there.
No, Dr. Vimala, technology is the answer. You know, we've done using technology screening in remote areas of Bihar and Jharkhand, where you don't need doctors, but you need two things. You need health workers. You need technology platform, and you need probably point of care devices to capture the data. It means either record the BP, test the glucose, some basic things, nothing fancy. Once that data through these devices is captured into a technology platform, then the doctor sitting anywhere can analyze it.
Okay.
Right. So you decide that, what are those key parameters you would like to, capture from an individual coming in a rural area. And and how they can be captured onto a platform, which then can be accessed by a doctor sitting in a, either a, let's say a CHC or a tier 3 town or a tier 2 town or a tier 1 town.
Yeah.
So technology is the only solution. So, happy to collaborate with you to see how, technology can enable your vision.
Okay. Thank you very much. I understood.
Yeah. Because there are so many things, and now thanks to the mobile phone or smartphone, not the mobile, the smartphone adoption in India, and also reasonable network coverage. There are, health workers who can, easily access apps, easily at least capture data. And if you take some integrated devices, or whatever you want to capture and ensure that data is being captured right, then that platform can enable screening, that platform can enable diagnosis, that platform can enable teleconsultation, that platform can then enable that health worker also to dispense medicines. And very importantly, that platform can then also enable follow-ups, because you also want to see longitudinally what the impact has been of your intervention. And then technology is the only solution, or you can say digital technology is the only solution for you to scale this up.
Okay. Yeah, understood. Thank you very much.
Dr. Rahul, this is Arvind Sinha from Health Compass. Earlier, you were speaking about ABDM and the incentive schemes which they are bringing in. Since you have been in industry for a long time, you have seen a lot of ups and downs and progress we have made. What's your opinion about this government initiatives? Like, how do you see it, like how far it's gonna go, how effective that will be?
Great question, Arvind. Arvind, can you just describe your background and your startup a bit?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Arvind Sinha. I've been a techie throughout my career, and in 2020 I started Health Compass with the motive to be able to create a patient-centric environment which is focused on the patient experience, and patients are able to get the insight into their health journey. And our main motive is to bring the consumerism in the healthcare. So I don't have a medical background, but I'm supported by my colleagues who have the background in that. My perspective on this is healthcare is a complex system. So it's a complex problem. It requires a complex solution, which is simple for the end users. And I believe that as a techie, I can solve that problem. So that's why I'm in this space. Our system is built upon, what we are trying to build is on the efficiency, engagement, and interoperability across the healthcare platform. And I think you and Rishi earlier had a comment about you're doing too many things. I think we will fall in the same category. However, we want to put ourselves out as an ecosystem where all these services which various people are offering can be delivered from single platform, and therefore consumer of that those services have their information in one place to get the meaningful insight about their health journey. So that's what we are trying to do. And we are heavily aligned with ABDM. I know about that effort. I've been following them for quite some time. And we are planning to get certified with them at a UHI level to the, just right behind the Bajaj Finserv, Care and Paytm. So
Great.
that's
great, Arvind, great. I think two things. Let me just first, yes, relate to, yes, too many things, but good to also see that you've, at least identified your niche, that you want to focus on the patient part of it. Because, yes, healthcare is complex and very few people, forget about the investors, they understand this, that it's not simple. It is a very complex multi-stakeholder ecosystem, and you cannot just try to oversimplify it. It is complex and you have to accept it. Right. And of course, the attempt is to simplify, integrate, create that ecosystem, but it's not easy.
Yep.
Right. And technology only can solve it. So completely with you on that. Regarding the government initiatives, I think I'm a very firm believer that, until unless you make a start, you will not reach anywhere.
correct.
Right. So the government, of course, the ABDM started 2-3 years back, and then there was nothing. And then suddenly on December 26th, they announced this DHIS, right? And they said we are going to launch it from 1st Jan. Again, nothing has happened, right? Of course, there are some webinars you can go and attend, recorded webinars you can see, but nothing has happened. And they wanted to be, a scheme for 6 months. If you talk to any hospital or any big or small doctor and any setup, they have zero idea about it. Means I personally have shared that one pager that they had that announcement of, with almost more than, I think, 50 doctors in my network. No one has any clue.
Oh, really?
Right. So, but it's a start, right? They have to start somewhere. So I really appreciate the government with the clarity they have, at least of those pillars they have identified. And it's a start. It is going to take time. And I firmly believe that, yes, this will happen. I mean, the shape may not be 100% of what they want in terms of UHI as well, but I think that's a great vision. That's a great vision. And that's the only way that we will be able to democratize healthcare in India.
Yep. Actually, that's the only way, in India being such a huge country, and there being like thousands of disparate systems, right? What they are offering is truly help everybody achieve interoperability, at least in terms of having the records available, because their initiative is not around the data, it's about the record, and the actual data is being saved in other places. So basically, insight part of it cannot be solved with this initiative. However, nobody is actually going to lose their data, and they can actually share with others freely is what they are doing. So basically, they are helping to achieve interoperability in true sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, please go ahead, Arvind.
Now, I was just going to conclude that I'm like seeing this initiative as a big one for the healthcare industry. I'm quite focused or centered around that. So that's why I have a little bit of anxiety, and I'm trying to seek, veterans like yours opinion. Okay, what do you think, where it's going?
No, I think it's a great opportunity for us. And I think the time may, will stretch, but I think, it is going to happen. And that's where I said the floodgates are going to open for, the companies like yours and ours as well, right? If you see what their vision is, Arvind, and I'm not sure how many of you know the US healthcare system, and the vision they have is light years ahead of even what is happening in US.
Yep, agree.
Right. So they're also sometimes, though everything more than 90% is EHR, the systems don't talk to each other. Sarna system does not talk to other systems, and there's, total chaos there as well. Right. And here, Sorry.
That's my background story. Sorry, I just want to say, I mean, I was in US until 2021.
Okay.
And my story is around those, I realize it's not even happening here.
Yeah.
So, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, no.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're right. So that's what I'm saying, that, let's support as much as we can. So like I said, I shared this with 50 plus doctors in my network. Let's try to onboard and educate as much as we can from our part, because the more we educate and make people aware, I think the faster the adoption would start happening, right? The government has, of course, timelines, but we know that the reality on the ground is lot more challenging, right? But at least, like I said, to reach somewhere, we have to make a start. The government has made a start, right? So we'll reach somewhere sooner or later. And it's a great vision. And for us, I see a huge opportunity for companies like ours and yours. Yeah. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Dr.
Hi, Dr. Rahul. This is Kamal here. How are you?
Hi, Kamal. Very good afternoon. I'm doing great. How are you on a Friday?
It's wonderful. Looking for the weekend. All right. So
that was a trick question, Kamal. To be honest, I was at C-level, and we used to always, have happy Fridays, half-day Fridays, early leave Fridays. But when you are a founder, then there is no weekend or Friday.
Yeah, that's true. When you're an entrepreneur, there's no weekends and there's no time. Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. We are representing like a company called Methodes. Methodes is, again, it's like a Hyderabad-based company, and me and my co-founder are in the call, Mr. Narendra. So basically, we are coming from Narendra is coming from IT background. I'm coming from biotechnology and pathology background. I'm not a doctor, but again, I just like, in histopathology, worked in for a long time, for around like 12-15 years in that domain. And we do have a successful startup company called Path Institute Biotechnologies, where we actually the manufacturer of monoclonal antibodies for diagnosis of cancers. Yep. You talk any cancer that will, through histopathology or biopsy, they will do a tumor markers. That's what we are the manufacturer, and also we do manufacture all the equipment that are required for histopathology, and also the liquid handling systems.
Right. So you provide panels. You provide tumor panels.
Yeah. You talk any panel that we provide, like breast or prostate or lung, any other, like, right from the head to toe, we have a panel markers.
Fantastic.
So that's a successful model.
Your clients would be like the Strand Diagnostics or Foundation One, and then these, or you? Who are your clients?
Histopathology lab, any histopathology lab that you call in the country, they are our clients, including Tata Cancers.
Which are doing
exactly.
Exactly.
Tata Cancers or Lalpath Labs, Metropolis, SRL, and all Apollos and Command Hospitals. Anybody you call histopathology, there we are.
Super.
So that was a startup in 2013. Now we are scaled up to 100 people, and also any histopathology lab that you call, like we are there, and also we do export from India. In between, we had me and Narendra were like, going around and looking for, like, just like, for ourselves, like, buying medicines or so we found some kind of a difficulty on finding medicines from like doctor who are in Apollo Jubilee Hills. They write the medicine, but we stay in somewhere like 30 kilometers away from Jubilee Hills and do not find the medicine. That's so then we see that, like, there is a lot of gap in here, and we at least had to go to 10 to 15 pharmacies and come out again, go back to Jubilee Hills to get the medicine. So that's how we started as Methodes, having it like local supply. And wherever you are, you just like put the pin code and upload your prescription. The way the government does for L1 concept, the tendering or quotation based concept. So once a prescription comes to a pharmacy, they actually give a quotation. Meaning to say, like, they submit the price code. Similar way in
for the same medicine.
For the same medicine.
For
there are like patient. 5 exactly. In one pin code, there are like 5 pharmacies registered with the Methodes. And they'll be all 5 pharmacies will be submitting quotation. It's a patient choice where they can get the medicine from. And there also we have given like 3 different options as doctor prescribed and as generic medicine, and also like in the same composition with different company. So there are like a lot of choices for the patient to choose on. I know like a lot of patients, like they may not like understand like a lot of this medical terminology, but at least some extent we are providing that kind of option to the patient. Later on, we launched that one. Now currently we have around 3,000 to 4,000 pharmacies across pan India. And later again, we also launched the same with the diagnostics. So same concept of diagnostics as well. And in diagnostics, we have around 6,500 diagnostics already registered with the methods, and including LALPAT, SRL, and ThyroCare, Sprint Diagnostics, a lot of like the big chains. They are also into our methods. So now actually we started we're almost completing our coding in home care services, the healthcare to home care services. So now if at all you say, there are almost like 3 crore surgeries are happening across India per year. Just surgeries. And after surgery, once they discharge to the home, at least they need some kind of injection or dressing. If it's orthopedic, definitely they kind of need like kind of dressing or something. Or patient mobility is kind of difficult in this case, even for simple injection. And also like if at all you see the elderly patients that they are in the play home, even for them it's a difficulty to like move on to the outside to get any small treatment, or including like ayas and ward boys or nurses, physio, doctors, maybe MBBS or clinician, like the physician, like specialist. So it's kind of difficult to go and get the people. So what we thought, we started this particular thing called on-call services, where we are going to launch in next another 8 to 12 weeks of time, maximum that time. So where they can upload, they can raise a request area-wise, and whoever the nursing homes we are tying up, we started digging out all the nursing homes across pan India, but we started with the Hyderabad first because we are based out of Hyderabad, and we are personally going and talking to nursing homes. They are also kind of showing enthusiasm because they can get the local patient to their nursing home.
Right.
So as you said, the screening part, why would a corporate hospital do a screening for free? So they are actually it's a kind of bringing the patient into a system, in their system. So similar way, these nursing homes also we are telling, hey, this once your patient is in with you, then you can, so the patient can build confidence in your hospital. Then your nursing home always have the good of the busy in your thing. So this is what the model what we started.
Great.
Kind of showing a good success in this. At the same time, there are no other. There are services locally given, but if at all you see pan India level, there is no company that they're doing this kind of a service. That's for where we are currently pitching in. One thing where we are the security wise, when any nurse or Aya or what boy somebody goes into the home, there we are actually there are some questions raised. How do you give security or to the my nurse or to the patient as well, right?
Right.
So we said okay, the way currently the urban lab is working, it's kind of a similar model, but here we always have along with your nurse or the Aya or what boy, whoever it is, you always have to have send 2 people, or you have to have on a video call when the people are doing treating the patient. At the same time, patient also having have at least one attendant along with the patient. So this is kind of a thing what you always need to take care. Just looking forward.
You can geotag.
Okay. Geotag would be how that works.
So you can, let's say, anyone who's coming to deliver the service needs to have your app or does not need to have your app.
They need to have our app, yes.
Right. Then that is geotagged. Right. So the urban lab does geotagging, does time tagging, does photo tagging, everything they do.
Yeah.
Right. So that person actually went there, and that's one way. That's one way. But
yeah. So in conditions, what we have put, unless you see ID and the photo matches with the ID, you do not encourage any of the service providers, the sister or doctor or or by anybody that model. We already put it as a must. And now the main reason to join T-Hub is one thing is a connections, and second thing is somewhere like, the data security. Now you're like, working on same nano, nano health and the data security. Are there any like, tips that we need to follow for the data security in this level?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Where are you hosting your data right now?
We are in controllers right now.
Okay. See, right now in India, the data privacy laws are still very fluid. In 2017, they did come up with a draft. It is still a draft. It has not been passed.
Correct.
Right. So you just need to ensure that here some of the IT security laws for data protection and data security, you have those certifications. Otherwise, from a compliance perspective, so far nothing from a regulatory perspective is out there. But you need to safeguard, because anything like, I don't know if you heard about the AIMS data leak, right? Right. So if that happens, it just spoils the your brand name. I don't want to take the name of an organization which lost its sheen because they were providing their app to the doctors, and then they got crazy valuations. But at the back end, they did not take consent from the doctor or the patient to share that data with pharma companies. And then it became public, and then they probably eroded a lot of their brand and their valuation. So the bottom line is that though there are no statutory guidelines so far, but be future ready, be at least have those IT ISO certifications in place. We took a decision to store our data on AWS. AWS, from a health data perspective, at least has a mark. To an extent that even if I have 2 clients in US now, if I just tell them that the data is stored on AWS, they say that, okay, that gives us the confidence. And then of course we have to have HIPAA compliance and all that. But that from a cloud storage provider perspective, AWS probably has a better standing from a client investor perspective. Yeah. Kaushik, you want to add something?
As you said, I'm sorry. Yeah, Kaushik, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kamal. Just to the fact what you were saying about AWS, right? They are SOC 2 compliant, and having HIPAA compliancy is important for healthcare, and it isn't difficult to host it on AWS. And I think,
do they store in India or do they store outside of India?
Yeah.
You can
so
decide.
you can
you
can decide where you want to have it.
Because what if the draft is still not been finalized? In the draft, clearly what the draft says is the compliance should be in India. All the data should be stored in India only.
So you can transfer the data. Yeah, you can transfer the data. If they kind of change the language in the draft, you could definitely transfer the data. It's more like stored in S3 buckets, and you could just transfer that. Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Just wanted to
that was the only concern what we had with the AWS. We thought like they may store the data out of India in future. Again, when it comes to complaints in rule, as in like into a form, then we thought, okay, like probably they may not accept. So that's what we took the controllers as in our partner for storing our data.
You may not know controllers as servers in Singapore.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, no. Okay. Controllers CMO is a very close friend. I mean, ex-CMO is a very close friend.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I was like kind of impressed on your like non-invasive breast carcinomas. Probably I do connect back with you in later part, and we can see like where we can work on. Yeah, because we're mostly working on all these tissue pathology and also developing some of our own devices for non-invasive. Also, we are currently working on.
Great.
Let's see on that.
Certainly.
I have a question. I'm
your hand has been raised for some time. I think I overpassed you for common apologies for that. Yeah, please go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, so I actually have a PhD in electrical engineering, and I got my PhD in US, and I worked as a research associate in biomedical field before I moved back to start this startup this year in 2022. And
What does your startup do, Saiti?
So what we are doing, so we started off with a totally different thing. We wanted to get into the EMG devices market, and then through meeting doctors and everything, we found that there's actually a very big market for temporary pacemakers. We found that they are doctors like cardiac surgeons who are looking for cheaper and better options for temporary pacemakers, and they produced outside India basically, and they're imported. So it is pretty expensive, like 1 lakh each device.
Yeah.
And so we are developing these devices at like 20% of the cost with more features.
Wow.
But the problem is that this whole process of developing a device, validating a device takes time. It takes at least like a 6 to 1 year process to even get through everything.
Yeah.
But when we are trying to pitch to a new customer, like a hospital or an investor, how do we talk to them about it? Because we are still in the validation process. It's still taking time. And when is like the right time to talk to an investor about it? So these are my doubts about it.
Yeah, I think, Saiti, if you are convinced about the idea, the product, let me put my investor hat on, right? So on an average, still I analyze 10 to 15 startup pitches every week. Because I'm associated with Inflection Point Ventures, and I don't know if you've heard about IPV or Angel Bay. These two investment houses. I also, I'm associated with CII, and those startup screenings I do. From an investor perspective, the conviction has to come from the idea, from the founder's background in terms of execution. And even if your product is registered or not registered, I think at an early stage, at the right valuation, if the conviction is on the idea and the execution of the founders, I think you can raise funds, right? When it comes to hospitals, of course, they would need those certifications and clearances. If you want to go out, then the CE certification in India, it's not mandatory, but outside it is. But in India, still you need those clearances. So you would have to put in that, and it takes money to get those clearances on, and time as well, like you said, 6 months to 1 year. So you'll have to, if you have the capability, bootstrap it, because the multiples that you can get once the approval comes in, and you have at least a signed client and a revenue stream in, the valuation of course goes much higher than a pre-revenue concept, pre-approval medical device stage, right? But you can still raise funds.
Okay. And like, what do you suggest is the right approach for like when we talk to hospitals or investors with respect to that?
Yeah, I think both has to be different approaches. Hospital is your client, investor is someone who put in money on a future vision.
Both of them we have to convince about.
So your pitch to both of them has to be different.
Yes.
Right. So to hospitals, you really have to focus on the value proposition, that how you have to understand what their challenge is. Is margin their challenge? Then cost, of course, plays a key role. Is availability, supply chain their challenge? And then the availability from you makes a difference. Any other feature that differentiates your product, that has to be then highlighted to the hospital, because then in the end, they are a consumer, or they are the channel for you to sell it, right? An investor is actually just looking for the returns, right? That what is the potential market that this product can capture and help me, generate X amount on my multiples on my investment. So your pitch has to be totally different there, right? So rather than, of course, they are, until unless you bring out that the pain point or the problem is, big enough, the investor is also not interested, nor is the hospital, right? But then the approach is different to the hospital from a more realistic perspective, and to the investor more from a potential value that can be created. That's how I see, right? So my conversation when I go and talk to a doctor about my product versus when I go and talk to an investor are totally different.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Just a
Kaushik.
thought,
Yeah.
probably just a thought for Sariti. So, I have a background in electrical engineering as you do, and I have electromagnetics and electrochemistry as my background. And I think one way you can convince customers is rather than, so there are two things, right? A clinical trial, and then you could do a virtual like in silicon based trial, and probably doing an in silicon based trial and showcasing the benefit of how your product works can take it a great step further than showing no result, right? I don't know where you are currently in terms of like the product development, but doing a simulation of that would be really helpful. It could be like a
So the
yeah,
problem, I think, is not
yeah.
with respect to simulation or if the device will work, but more of, how the medical board works. So any hospital that is trying to employ a electronic device, which
Yeah.
is being used, like with respect to AI apps and everything, it's different, but this electronic is going to be like life supporting device that's going to be used during surgeries. So they
Yeah.
don't allow the device until you clear the ethics board. So you
Correct.
have to clear it. So the
Right.
doctor, the hospital also can't approve it because they are like, well, you clear the ethic board, only then we're gonna talk about it, because they can't help it also. So
Yeah.
that's
Saidi, there is another T-Hub startup, Aero Biosys.
okay.
I'm a mentor for them. They are into these smart ventilators.
Okay.
Right, that they've got clearances in India and for their product, and then now they are trying to apply for a CE certification, right? And that's where it may cost them anywhere between 3 to 4 CR. So they're just contemplating whether it's the right time for them to make that kind of investment. Of course, it opens up market for them outside India. So anyways, if you want, I can put you in touch with Rajesh there.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Shall I? Yeah, okay, thanks.
I don't know, Shravan, can you share my contact details on the chat, my mobile number, and then they can reach out to me on WhatsApp. So I think you can, and I can introduce you to Aerobiosis.
Okay, that'd be great.
Aerobiosystems, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Rahul, can I share your number on the group?
Yeah, you can, no problems.
Perfect, perfect. I'll do it.
Okay, any more stories, questions, thoughts?
Doctor, this is Partha from
Yeah, Partha.
Curix. Curix is a hospital management software. It has a billing, lab, diagnostic, radiology, supply chain modules. Okay. So what we are, so it is a SaaS product where we are trying to differentiate is how we manage the more from, we want to solve the first, the operations issue. Stopping the pilferages and giving more control at fingertips in the area of billing, so the patient gets discharged quickly, the TAT. So what the general ERP does. So we are trying to be SAP business one for hospitals, still mid-segment hospitals, like I would say like till 150 bedded hospital. That is our initial target. Okay. And then we have this EMR in the pipeline. We started on it, but right now we are focusing on packaging the product. So that is a brief description about our product. So my question here is, say for example, in the lab, we have like around 25 centers already using, they are on our platform. And they're happy, and we are making sure like all their operational issues are solved, and we are adding one client at a time. We are looking to scale it like 3 to 6 months down the line as we package the product, so that the implementation team can operate, implementation and the business development team can operate separately from the core product team. Okay, so that is what we are doing, and also giving a dashboard. So these are final touch-ups which we are working before spreading the product. Okay. So one thing in the lab, the master data, like say, for example, the thyroid T3. Okay, so for women, for kids, this is the ranges. Okay, so we have data already, but I have noticed like different diagnostic centers are having slightly different data. Okay, yeah, so it helps us like we have data like if anyone can give guidance like, okay, you have right data, okay, or you need to do a bit more to add to your data. Okay, so because like what happens is when we onboard a client, they simply say like you onboard your data and then we'll start modifying it or configuring it. That's what the industry say. Though we say like you know what the machines you are having and you know what the test each machine performs and what are the ranges for it. But in the end, we by the time we go live, because though it is 100, 150 bedded, they are still small. Like they are all single center, not a brand with multi centers. So they don't. The lab technician is not much interested to provide all the data, and they make us to dump our data and they do modifications to it on demand. So just since it is very important data for the patient to know the ranges and everything, so I thought like if any startup or anyone in the connect here, they can help us with the data, saying you got the right data or something, some connects in the pathology department, people from pathology. Yeah. So that is something from product which we want, but there are more help which we need. Thought like this is the first session I'm opening up with one of the need, because remaining areas we are confident for what we are doing. This is also we are confident, we don't have any issues from the customers, but just a attestation from someone saying, okay, you got the data as it is clinical. So just having some, as you said, like some IT security compliance, such type of things. So similarly, because like we try to reach out to our contacts, say for example, some Lucid Diagnostics or someone, but they feel like this is their proprietary data and they don't want to share it with us. So
yeah, so I think that the right approach here would be just thinking out aloud, Partha. You know, a single machine. I'm a doctor. I know the lab. Our systems also, you know, has a lab, you know, capture module as well. The same machine, if run twice on control, may give different, you know, values, normal ranges. So each machine, each lab may have different ranges, and for the same machine, if the control is run twice, may have, you know, different readings. So correct. You, of course, can have broad range, you know, like say, yeah, hemoglobin as an example, right?
Okay.
Would have between, let's say, anywhere between 0 to, let's say, you can say 20, 25, and then normal is, you know, 12 and 14, depending on male or female or gender. But on that particular machine, what is the normal range? You'll have to calibrate that. And that requires, of course, requires manual effort to be able to do it. Or you know, get an API from the machine maker.
Okay.
Right? So look at that aspect. So rather than, of course, you can reach out to the lab technician, you can reach out to the pathologist. But I think your first port of calling may help by if you reach out to these device makers, to these hemolyzers or lab, you know, diagnostic equipment makers. That would be one port of call for you, which may yield you slightly better returns. Of course, there are so many different makers out there. So you may want to reach out to, you know, from your existing clients. You can reach out to the ones, you know, where in your clients, their machine is being used.
Okay.
Right. And
then,
then see that how they're, you know, from their machine, an API can directly feed into your system.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, it's a manual process. There's no substitute. The values would change with every control. or calibration, they rerun. The machine range of normal values for any enzyme, any biochemistry value would change.
Yeah, or probably incentivize the lab technicians. Please spend 3 days on this data, giving your interpretation and the ranges. It will
No,
give
Kaushik,
more quality
you are
reports.
right in terms of, it's not the question of the standard ranges. The standard ranges I can bring out, but each lab, each machine, each time that
correct.
machine is run for a control would come up with slightly different ranges. As an example, for let's say LFT, SGOT, SGPT, sometimes the range may start from 30 to 50 as normal. Sometimes it may start from 35 to 55 as normal.
Yeah, correct. It changes with the device methodologies, all those things.
Yeah, and then for the same machine, it may change with 2 different controls, right? That they're run.
Correct.
So how do you actually depict them, right, in your reports?
Yeah.
So that's only through APIs. I think that can be automated. But if there are other solutions, I think happy to hear from this cohort. Yeah, Prashant.
Rahul, hi.
Yeah.
So my actually question was, how did Nano Health actually approach about its customer acquisition in the initial phases?
Yeah, very good question, Prashant. So
predominantly we operate in the same space as well, so just wanted to have understanding of that because it involves a lot of money currently, is what we see. So
see, to be very honest, so far our customer acquisition has been purely through word of mouth and through some social media passive marketing, not pull marketing.
Okay.
It's been a push marketing in terms of LinkedIn, some social media presence, some blogs because of the white papers that we have written in collaboration with ISB. And it's now that we, in the next 1 to 2 quarters, we want to launch a very structured, customer acquisition program where we are trying to identify our sales channel partners.
And things like that. We understand that beetroots are power packed with betaine, which is best for muscle recovery and muscle growth. Detoxifies their system beautifully because they'll be running around and they're exposed to a lot of germs when they're interacting with other children, playing
multitasking,
in grass fields and things like that. So these kind of menu items which are rich in vitamin C as well as betaine and things
Shravan,
like
can
that
you
keeps
mute
their
Pariksha,
immunity
please?
level up. And today when I talk to parents, their biggest concern is that children coming back from school are falling sick. Of course, there are viral and
Shravan,
bacteria and whatnot they're exposed to. But we try and provide the max.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, I understand everyone's time is precious, but this is epic in terms of being on 2 calls at the same time. So coming back to the GTM and customer acquisition, right? So our customer acquisition, like I said, has been primarily very passive, has been through our network only and through some social media presence, LinkedIn, that's how. Now we have started identifying our sales partners in terms of wellness, in terms of insurance companies, in terms of some device manufacturers whom we are integrating, like POC devices. So that's how we are doing, and then also some sales channels, like we are trying to partner with some associations and through that do customer acquisitions. So that's what we currently have been doing, but the road ahead is for us to do in a much structured manner. So in the roadmap, but just very openly sharing, we have a chief marketing officer position, which we will in the 1 to 2 quarters, next 1 to 2 quarters, we will onboard, and then have a very structured acquisition process. Also depends upon the funds you have. So we are in the process of now going to market to raise funds, through which we will then have a very clear strategy of investment into customer acquisition. Right now, it's very reactive.
Got it. If I may, what will be the headcount of Nano Health roughly?
So around 30 people.
Oh, okay.
What's a normal customer acquisition range, Dr. Verma? like onboarding a doctor, how much generally it would cost, roughly, I mean.
Yeah. See, I think you have to look at it for a SaaS model, right? That you have, right? The customer acquisition in the first year cost may be high, but the LTV, is multiples, right? So LTV to CAC ratio is much higher because it's a SaaS model. So, initially the CAC may look at, in the first year may be high, but, the maintenance, because once you are into the hospital or a doctor, it's very difficult to switch. So the LTV is much higher. So, yeah. Sorry, I hope the abbreviations are clear to everyone, right? So.
Yeah, I understood.
Yeah, so LTV, lifetime value, CAC is customer acquisition cost. Sorry.
Mr. Rahul, if I may, one more question.
Yeah, please.
Prashant. So considering, I was actually curious about the preventive healthcare that you're pitching for corporates, right? So in terms of the proposition, what usually the brokers or the insurance players put forward with the HRs of the companies is it's a GMC policy that's being discussed. And in that, basically about 70 to 80% of the claims that are made with the family and not with the employee as such.
Yeah.
And are usually the wellness programs or the preventive healthcare usually centered around the employees and not towards the family members, where the majority of the claims are. So, how do we address that? I mean, how do we address the bulk of the claims that are made towards the family, wherein most of the programs usually HRs use it as a KRA and all? And
yeah. So see, Prashant, the traditional breakup, and this may vary by a few percentage points. 50% is by parents. 10-15% is for pregnancy. Another 10-15 for employees, and the remaining could be incidentals. Right? That's usually how a typical corporate's claim, breakup looks like.
Correct.
Right. So, what we are approaching is that, see, on our platform, you can onboard your family as well.
Oh, okay.
Right. For your, wellness, proactive wellness, of course, the corporate is paying, but for your family's health, managed, coordinated healthcare, through our platform at a very reasonable cost, you can actually, take that care. So that's where then, the whole preventive aspect kicks in, especially for the family members, especially for the parents, right? And then that is where you are able to showcase the impact.
Got it.
Yeah. So you have to extend it to family. It cannot be just focused on your employees themselves, because yes, 50% of claims come from your family members.
Got it. And with the ever increasing premiums on a yearly basis, like it becomes mandatory for the companies. Yeah. Thanks, Mr.
Any other questions?
Good afternoon, Dr. Rahul.
Yeah, Pariksha, you were making a pitch simultaneously. That's the most optimum utilization, right? So
I'm so sorry. I know I missed some of the session and I'm going to listen to the recording again. But yes, I mean, I'm trying to, Newbie is trying to provide precision nutrition solutions to starting from parents who are planning their family going up till teenager years. So we understand that first 1,000 days of life is the most important in nutrition. And like you said, your dream was to reduce the burden of NCDs, and that's where the dream started. And I realized that when we can change the entire lifestyle, eating habits or behavior, nobody's focusing there, right? So we look at the nutrigenetics of pediatric population, their gut microbiome, and not just that, the eating behavior. And we try and modify as early as possible so that the burden of NCDs 10 years down the line can come down. We all are talking about the impact of NCDs on GDP and the impact of hospitalization and the care, but I think that's the area as a nutritionist, as a mother, I really wanted to touch upon and create a difference. And that's where
your pitch has resonated with everyone. Everyone is ready to invest in your company. So My family mostly are pediatricians. My brother-in-law, my father-in-law, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins are pediatricians.
I need all that support. I'm coming to you.
No. So my brother made this epic statement, right? So means I am a father of, proud father of 2 kids, and like I'm a Punjabi. So at our home, kids have to be fed those panjiri and oil heavy and butter chicken and everything. And my brother very rightly said that, see, it's not that in the first 10 years you can feed the kid anything.
True.
Right. Like in Punjab, they will say, "Bachyan nu ta sab hazam ho janda." I don't know how many of you understand Punjabi, but it's like the kids can digest anything, right? It doesn't matter. Anji?
मैं कह रही हूँ खांदे नहीं थे पींदे नहीं थे खराब है
खराब ने की होया कि नान के गए थे दाद के गए थे खाता पीता नहीं, right? So sorry, apologies guys for
Punjabi here.
Yes. But you're right, we have to intervene early. We have to inculcate that habit of healthy eating, right, in right from childhood. It is so important because my wife is an endocrinologist, and she sees so many kids, right, young kids, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, obese, coming with altered metabolism from thyroid to pre-diabetic to diabetic, right? So it's so important that we from early on inculcate those healthy habits. Of course, means they can have more cheat days than we can have, but it does not mean that we can take it for granted.
Absolutely. And there is another piece where I wanted your guidance and support is we are trying to reduce the trauma that comes with pricking in. So like I said, as a nutritionist, I believe that micronutrient deficiencies is what leads to metabolic imbalance in the first place.
Yeah.
So the idea is to have the tool going where we can, have an image recognition happening and we can correlate with the blood picture and, we can predict micronutrient deficiencies and early on take care of it with natural diet or a little bit with clinical supplementation. So that's where we are at, and that's where the data collection and all that is needed, and that's where we have a bottleneck, and that's where I'm applying to certain funds and grants and things like that. But that's where we need to just take help from doctors and healthcare practitioners, where we can have parents' consent coming in and we can get into this study as well.
Sure. No, data can be very powerful, right? So I don't know if there is a company which is on an image from your smartphone of your face can tell you what your blood glucose levels are.
Yes.
Right. So, but then that's data, right? Of course, if clinically validated, you can build with some sensitivity and specificity any correlations. Yeah, but data is powerful. I need to run. I'm sorry. Apologies for this. I'll have to run. But any questions? I'm not sure if I think my number has been shared. Please share my number on the chat, right? And feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Thank you so much.
Shravan, can you share my number?
Yeah,
so,
I already
guys,
shared it in the group.
Opportunity to also introduce Manish. Manish is the founder of Nano Health. I joined him as partner in crime. So, yeah.
Hello, Mr. Manish.
All of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and wishing all of you the best in your journey, entrepreneurial journey, and wishing exponential success to all of you.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for your
Thank
time.
you, doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed. I also learned a lot of things. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
I kindly request
Thank you.
everyone to switch on the camera just for a picture.
Sorry?
I just request everyone to turn on the cameras.
You want to click a photo? Okay.
Yes. Money.
Perfect.
Okay, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rahul. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.